I started a free clinic to treat long COVID and chronic fatigue in 2023. And one of the things I have found useful is that the Perrin technique, which is a lymphatic works so much better than any medications I have ever prescribed to patients. And someone in this audience actually, I consider her graduated from ME in a sense that it's not that they don't have it anymore, but it's like a trauma that is under control. They can live with that trauma and move on with their life without having it haunting them and limiting their ability to live a full life. As long as she doesn't go do drugs and drink and then stay up all night and go to party, I think she will be okay. So without ado, what we will do is we'll introduce Dr. Perrin to those of you who actually do not know who he is. I think most of the people in the room knows who he is. And then after that, we'll open to some questions in person. I have a couple questions from the virtual audience before this started. So I'll let you guys ask questions first. And then once all your questions are answered, and then we'll go to the virtual questions, and then we'll just close at that time. If it is going past 4, then we'll try to stop at 4 to respect everybody's energy and time. If we stop earlier, then we'll just stop the recording and then people can ask their individual question or mingle here to socialize and network too. Before we actually talk about Dr. Perrin, I wanted to bring to your attention that we do have this Rooted in Hope concert. If those of you who do not know what that is, my free clinic is partnering with MECFS Alliance. I think I should be looking at that. MECFS Alliance in Minnesota to bring more awareness of the disease, chronic Lyme's, chronic Lyme's, long COVID, and chronic fatigue to the world. So this will be recorded and people can watch all over the world at their own time zone if they cannot join live. It can be watched online, virtually, live, or come in person if you are in Minnesota or in the cities. And there is no charge to the ticket. It's 0. But you do need to get a ticket to get into the concert. There are a lot of people asking if we are not filled to the capacity. You certainly can walk in, but just in case we do fill to the capacity, then we'll have to, unfortunately, turn you down and you have to stand outside to listen. So we don't want that. And the virtual tickets do have a link online for you to go to watch if you want to watch online. So I do want you to get a ticket even though you are not coming in for virtual. And then I do not know exactly when we can post the recording. So if you can watch virtual or come in person, that's better. We have a lot of items for silent auction. People are just so generous. They keep going out and buy things and donating things. So I think we will need to set 5 tables for all the items. So, and you can follow, once I'm done with Dr. Perrin visiting us here, I will start uploading more of the silent auction item on the Gift Butter website. So you can kind of look at what we have, but the auction doesn't start until the concert. Okay, and I think that's, and then for those of you who are here, I printed out the concert is sponsored by one of our people here. Dr. Perrin sponsored our concert, the Perrin Technique, our neuro guy, the FDA approved lymphatic mat will be at the concert too, and they were demonstrating how their lymphatic mat works for lymphedema. And so we'll be excited to give it a try. And some other people, Stephanie's group, see Others Foundation doing like free, some kind of a free sing-along community singing group. Her friend is here with her. They have, Stephanie has been doing touching words and meditation, etc. for all those things that have helped people for free. So you guys need to go check it out too. All right, so without further ado,
You got it. You have to open the.
So our speaker is a little preoccupied. Hi, Kathy. Hi, everyone online. So this is Dr. Perrin, my mentor. A lot of people thought, oh, this Dr. Tam is pretty nice, and why is she following this crack, right? The
From
reason,
England.
the crack from England.
And I do like photos, but the reason why is because we have a newsletter that goes all around the world to all my practitioners. So some of these photos will be in that newsletter. I hope you're okay by that, all of you. Yeah. Because it goes around the world to show what's going on in Minneapolis.
So the reason I believed what he did was I actually did not believe what he did first. And I go, so many people said they know how to solve ME, right? All the drugs and whatever. And I go, okay, let's just fact check him. So I read his book. I Google every claim that he said about the biochem, because I couldn't find my medical school biochemistry book or physiology book. So I Google it. So Google seems to agree to everything he said. I go, okay, then the testimonial in the book can be like fake, right? You can get fake testimonial. I go, but there are so many. So maybe there's something to it. And I try to read the book and have my patients do it. Didn't work. So I go, okay, well, I guess maybe I need to go check on him and see what he is teaching that is different in the book. So after I learned it from him in Phoenix, my patients started to feel better. And so I go, okay. And so then we have the first class of graduates after 2.5 years of doing it, and 10-ish of people graduate. Some cannot come because they are busy working now. So that is good. And and then we have some new practitioners starting to do it. I just heard from one of our practitioners who just learned and they did it on themselves. And they are having better sleep on themselves. So, and then another person follow Stephanie's instruction about the touching words and how to do the self massage, and they feel better. So it is not like unreal. So this is Dr. Raymond Perrin from the UK. He is an osteopath. He developed this Perrin technique 37 years ago, and it became his PhD thesis, and he earned a PhD degree from University of Salford, and now is an adjunct professor at New York Institute of Technology College of Osteopathic Medicine, doing research on the Perrin technique. We are going to start a randomized controlled trial study on the Perrin technique, and including Bateman-Horn will be one of his testing sites. Nova Southwestern,
Southeastern.
Nova Southeastern Medical School. No, they're not a medical school.
Osteopathic.
It's
the College of Osteopathic Medicine, but it's their neuroscience.
Neuroscience. They Dr. Nancy Klimas does a lot of Gulf War syndrome and also do this technique and different parts in the world. University of Cambridge. That is one of my questions on the advanced practitioner class. Yeah, University of Cambridge, right?
It's in Cambridge. It's a private clinic that was private, private research center that was paid for by an anonymous donor who paid for us to have a 3T scanner and a whole load of labs. Millions of pounds is put in for this center. So, and that's somebody who's been helped by the Perrin technique. So he wanted to help us.
Yeah. There's a phone call coming in, 7. Decline it. Okay, good. All right. So here's Dr. Perrin. So what I wanted to first find out is, there you go. Okay. So so I don't know if you have a couple words to say.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Ruby, for organizing this today. Oops, so I have to look at the camera.
Yeah, I think you just can sit
closer. I'll move closer here so you can see me. Okay. It's following you now. Put your hand up, and then it should stop following me. Now it won't follow. Now you can turn it. I think turn it a bit. You can turn it. No. Technology, it's really good when it works. Right, okay. Okay. So no, but it is actually very good. Right, you can see it. Okay. So I wanted to thank Ruby and thank all of you coming today, and for all of you watching online from wherever you are. I know I recognize a few faces. and some are right on the western seaboard enjoying the beautiful weather there. We're enjoying good weather here. Crazy weather because it was freezing cold just last week with snow, thick snow, and now it's sunny and t-shirt weather. So it's because I'm wearing Ruby's t-shirt, and this is for her free ME clinic. And as she said, she runs this amazing, the world's first free ME clinic in the world. People always think, where's it going to be? Not America, but it's here in
the middle of nowhere.
Minneapolis. But
in middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So anyway, it's really glad. I'm really good to be here. I have to look at the camera. Sorry. It's really good to be here, and basically it's a Q&A session. So I would say fire away.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Right.
So, I was hoping you could, there's a ton of research.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out how to talk to patients.
Yes.
And so I was wondering if you could kind of run me through what happens at the thoracic duct and the subclavian vein, over time. Okay, so you got the long COVID, or you got something.
Yeah.
This is what happens to the lymph.
Yeah.
Then I don't know what else you say. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So how do you explain it very simply?
Yeah.
So I'll explain it to how I explain it to very young patients, because the youngest patients I've ever seen with ME is 5, unfortunately. The whole family came in with ME. It does run in families sometimes, and we see this quite common. And the youngest was a 5-year-old. So how do you explain it to a 5-year-old? And basically, and to younger patients and patients that don't want too much science. So basically, the body gets hit by lots of things that it doesn't like. Viruses, bacteria, which are, from the scientific point of view, we can go much further, but we're not going to. Keep it very simple. Things that we don't like. These are enemies of the body, which create a response. And this response leads to the body draining off toxins, poisons, viruses, bacteria, and all the things that it creates. And it creates a lot of chemicals, poisons in the body that cause inflammation, which causes heat, causes damage, causes problems in the body. For a 5-year-old, we'll just say there's poison. They know about poison because they've learned about the poison apple and the queen, and they know about poison apple not being good for who was it now? Was it Snow White, wasn't it? Was it the Snow White?
Yeah.
So they know about poisons, and they say don't touch that, it's poison. So basically, we have drainage systems. We have 2 drainage systems in the body to drain off these poisons: the blood and the lymph. And the blood can help with small poisons, small molecules of poisons, small poisons, and big molecules, big poisons need the lymph. The lymph is also there for excess small poisons as well. It's not just there for big poisons, it's there for everything that the blood can't cope with. So we need that lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system is a system throughout the body. Now, what we do is drain off the toxins, and using techniques to drain those poisons away, we get the person better. That's enough for most people to understand what we're doing, because they understand that. From what you're saying about the thoracic duct goes into more details.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main duct of the lymph, okay? And that is pumping lymph out into the bloodstream. And it pumps it via nerves that control the thoracic duct. And these are sympathetic nerves that pump along. And it's like a wave, what we call a peristaltic wave, that you'll have a wave in the bowels that push the bowels along and push the blood along in the arteries. It's the same thing. You've got these waves pushing the lymph along into the blood system. Now, we also have sympathetic nerves everywhere else that control blood, control the veins, and have an effect on the veins and effect on the muscles, on the arterioles and the arteries. So, but the lymph, the thoracic duct, the main duct of lymph, has nerve supply. Now, I was never taught that. We were taught they're just tubes. and they have smooth muscle walls that contract and they pump along into the bloodstream. But there was a Professor John Kinmont who came along in the 50s, 1950s, 60s, 70s, and he did a lot of work with a physiologist called Browse, and they discovered that the thoracic duct has a pumping mechanism. And if you have chronic illness, in many conditions, it pumps the wrong way. So when it pumps the wrong way, it pumps into the tissues, and instead of pumping out into the blood, it pumps backwards.
So I didn't understand that. So it's actually pumping the opposite way. It's not just like not working.
No. And that is
it's actually pumping the other
pumping
way.
the wrong
Oh my
way.
God.
And
Okay.
not just the thoracic duct that Kinmont discovered. As we looked further and further, we looked at the other lymphatic vessels. And what Kinmont discovered when he went further, he discovered that all the collecting vessels, from the smallest lymphangion, which is the very, very small lymph collecting vessels, have smooth muscle walls, have sympathetic nerves attached to them. And if the sympathetic nervous system goes wrong, it pumps the wrong way.
Mm.
So it's not a lymphatic problem because the lymph is sluggish. And there's plenty of techniques for that. There's techniques developed for the last 100 or so years for that. One of the main techniques is the Vodder technique, and there's Foley techniques, and there's all different techniques to help lymph move better. But if it's working the wrong way, we have lots of techniques in the osteopathic camp to help lymph move better. But if it's moving the wrong way, then if you stimulate the lymph to move better in the wrong way, it'll just make things worse. So if you stimulate the thoracic duct to move better, and it's pumping the wrong way, it just reverses and makes things worse. And I learned this very early on with my first patients when I was trying all techniques for the lymph and making them worse. I was thinking, what am I doing wrong? And then I realized that there was this backflow. So then I developed the Perrin technique, which is basically pushing the lymph up into the bloodstream and pushing it down. And this is another thing that I looked at. There was a lot of research that had said there's no lymphatic drainage of the brain. It doesn't exist because we need the lymph for the larger molecules. And the brain doesn't get full of larger molecules because it has a barrier, the blood-brain barrier that stops any large molecules getting into the brain. So if it doesn't have large molecules getting in, there's no need of a lymphatic system. So in all the books you'll see up to now, to my book, you'll see all the books that have lymph drainage, but not in the brain. But I said 37 years ago, and with my research work in the 90s, and when I published my thesis 21 years ago, I said there is a lymphatic system of the brain, and I called it the neurolymphatic system, and it's this system that drains off the toxins into eventually into bloodstream down, and there has to be. And the reason why I said there has to be is because the hormones go into the brain, into an organ the size of an almond called the hypothalamus. And hormones enter the brain every day, all the time. And the hypothalamus measures them and sends messages. So hormones are huge molecules. How can they get through the blood-brain barrier, which stops any large molecules getting in? It's a barrier made of tight junctions. So I said, obviously, there's a weakness in the blood-brain barrier. And it's been discovered that there is a big weakness. And there's 7 areas that actually allow large molecules in: hormones, salts, sugars, and poisons. So we need a lymphatic system. That was my rationale.
So what do you think is the key thing about the Perrin technique that actually reverses the sympathetic, the peristalsis? Because I understand that that makes a lot of sense.
So that's the concertina effect,
Force it to go
the correct way.
But why would the sympathetic, why would the whole, all the nerve
because when we do the drainage, we do what I call the concertina effect, pushing down and pushing up. And that's the first basic part of the Perrin technique. That's different. And also that creates the siphon effect. So once it's created a pressure differential, we try and create as much pressure there as possible to push the lymph into the bloodstream and then force the right direction. And eventually, when we're keeping it going in the right direction, it pulls out lymph from all over the body, including the spinal cord, including the spinal cord, including all the muscles, and including the brain. So when we go down, we're eventually draining off the brain. And scientists just in the last few years have worked out that if you do this, or do massage on they've done it on mice, and they're developing things that do massage on there, it helps the drainage of the brain. Actually seeing this on scans, which is what we want to show, that my techniques help the patients that way. So there's more and more science backing this up. The lymphatic system, which is now what's known as, was only discovered in humans in 2012 in mice, but only in humans. No. Only 2 years ago in Oregon, when they actually did it on humans, on human subjects who had brain tumors, and they allowed them to inject to die after the brain tumor was removed. Before they closed their head up, they allowed them to inject to die in these spaces. So it's only been proven for the last 2 years in humans. So, and my thesis 21 years ago was based on this whole idea. So science is catching up. And basically, if we drain off the toxins, enough will eventually come out from the brain and from the hypothalamus. And eventually, when the hypothalamus is not poisoned as much, it will start working properly again. And it's that moment that then recovery starts. And it could be one day of just extra drainage, which tips the balance and gets the hypothalamus working again.
So you're trying to tip this balance so the body will then.
Yeah, because the hypothalamus is the balance mechanism.
The right way.
The hypothalamus is the balance mechanism of the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic nerves, the parasympathetic.
Is the hypothalamus telling that peristaltic action to happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And if it's telling it,
so it's poisoned. It's poisoned. It's like screwed up.
Screwed up.
You've helped it enough that it sends the right messages.
Exactly.
Okay, I got it, man. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, fine. Okay, come along. Introduce yourself and then say why you're here.
Oh,
Okay.
hi, everybody. I'm Irene Waldridge, and I'm a CLT, Certified Lymphatic Drainage Therapist, and a massage therapist. And I took Dr. Perrin's course here just recently. And what intrigued me was as a CLT in my training, we never learned about the sympathetic or the nervous system at all.
No.
And I've been studying this part about the nervous system in the last year. And now I'm learning more from you. And I was surprised that the nervous system has a whole lot to do with the lymphatic system. And I didn't know that as a CLT. I wasn't trained. So he gave me a lot of education that was just blew my mind. Okay, so thank you for that. One question I have is, let me back up. I have been learning and researching a lot about the G lymphatics, but I don't know a lot about that either, because as a CLT, I was never trained that either, because they didn't have the technology here to look at the brain, okay, as you said. So I loved learning more about that from you. The big thing that I have a question of is, I didn't learn anything about the spine. And when I took your course, you talked about the fluid in the spine, fluid coming in. Well, that makes sense because it's got to get in there. The fluid moving out of the spine, well, that makes sense but I don't know why. So I had a big question about that. How does that work? I mean, why is the fluid in the spine to begin with? Because I don't have that knowledge. I just know that fluid is in the spine, but I was never trained in anything with the spine as a CLT. Yeah. So I'm curious about the spine because I'm learning more about the G lymphatic. Now I want to learn more about the spine.
When Macon Nedergaard, the Danish scientist professor who ran the first proof that the lymphatics or the G lymphatics existed, that was in 2012 on mice in Rochester University in New York, where she was a visiting professor there. So she's based in Denmark, and I got in touch with them straight away because I said, lots of the questions I had, but one of the things I said, you're talking about the brain, but obviously you're talking about the spine as well. So I think I spoke to Jeff Illiff at the time, or contacted Jeff Illiff, and he said, yeah, the spine is important as well, of course, because every nerve. So what they found was the lymphatics go alongside what's known as perivascular spaces or paravascular, both, and these are spaces around the blood vessel or in the blood vessel wall, but outside the blood, and they drain off cerebrospinal fluid into the lymphatics. And we now know that the lymphatics actually lining the brain of humans, and that's been shown in 2017. So that's actual true lymphatic vessels lining in the meninges, in the membranes of the brain. So the spine also has meninges, and there's also dural lymphatics vessels there. And they also have nerves coming out, and those nerves have a blood supply. And around this blood supply of those nerves, there's lymphatic drainage of cerebrospinal fluid into the lymph. It's cerebrospinal fluid in the brain, and it drains into the lymph. So all the way along the spine, there's drainage. So you can't just treat the brain. You've got to work on the spine as well. And it was very interesting that the new research just last year, that researchers in South Korea found that, was it down to, yeah, 2005. They found that doing a study, they showed that the main drainage of the brain, of cerebrospinal fluid in the brain, drains through the deep cervical lymph nodes, most of them going through the cribriform plate, which is a plate and a bone beneath my finger. If I drilled a hole there, you'd find this, what's known as the cribriform plate, part of the ethmoid bone. And the fluid goes down into the lymphatics underneath there, eventually into the deep lymphatics of the neck. But drainage, as I said, drainage of the face and the head has been shown to help that, because it's helping this pumping back in the right way. It's helping this concertina effect. So other scientists have found this, but they also quantified it. They found 50% of all drainage of cerebrospinal fluid in the mice they were examining, 50% drained off into the lymph in the neck. And the rest of it, most of it, didn't drain back into the blood, but drained down the spine into the lymph all the way along the spine.
So it tries to protect the brain?
So it drains off the
In a way.
toxins. So it's draining off the toxins. And some goes back to the blood. But when I was studying physiology in the British School of Osteopathy in the 1980s, we learned that cerebrospinal fluid was produced by the blood in the choroid plexus, in the brain, and then it goes all the way around the brain, down the spine in the cerebrospinal fluid, right down to the sacrum, back up again, and going out into the venous return, into what we call arachnoid villi. That was it. There was no lymphatic drainage. It went from blood to blood, nothing else. Now we know hardly anything goes back into the blood. It goes into the lymph, eventually back into the blood through the lymphatic system.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
How does manipulating along the spine or next to the spine activate the lymphangions?
So right. So you've got, it's draining it's all, again, it's draining. When you say, well, how does it, we never do that, we do that.
Yeah.
We up
yeah.
the spine.
Yeah.
So it's this, it's done activate the it's pushing the lymphangions, the surface lymphangions. And I showed that the backflow of lymph, what Kim Muntz was talking about, was a reality, because he could never prove that the lymphangions were engorged and backflowed and varicose. I proved it whilst I was doing my doctorate research. Luckily, a patient came in where we could see it. And in my books and in papers and in the lectures, I showed a picture of varicose megalymphatics, huge lymphatic vessels in the chest of this patient, which is published and it's sent all over the world. But when I was the first person in the world to take a picture of this and say what it was, varicose megalymphatics, and you could tell these were huge, about 0.5 centimeter wide, and they should be 0.5 millimeter wide. So we saw this as proof positive, and they were colorless, because if it was varicose veins, they'd have a color, they'd be bluish or purplish or red, but they wouldn't be colorless. And the only colorless fluid in vessels in the body is the lymphatics, is the lymph. So we knew these were varicose lymph, and these are what we feel in all patients. And when we push that create this pressure here. It pulls out the lymph from all over the body, including the lymphangiomes, including the little capillaries of the lymph, including the bigger trunks and the bigger ducts. It will drain off everything eventually into the main drainage. So we create a pressure, we direct everything to the central drainage, which is there. And we have to work on the front and work on the back. I always say to people, I wish the central drainage of the lymph was my little finger, because then we wouldn't have to explain why we have to work on the chest.
Yeah, right.
So we might make life much easier, but we have to create this concertina effect. I found this over years and years and years of developing the treatment. This was the way we got things moving and patients
Kind
returned
of
to
like a
health.
suction effect.
Yeah,
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 okay.
Okay.
All right,
Cypher,
thank you.
yeah. Okay, thank
Great,
you.
thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Right.
So, the audience says you recommend milk thistle and
Yeah.
ginger for
Milk thistle and ginger.
for anti-inflammatory effect.
Yeah, so ginger, no, it's for liver, really.
Yeah.
It's to help the liver work better. These are the age-old treatments for liver that have been used. Ginger's been used for thousands of years. Milk thistle's been used for hundreds of years. Cinnamorin, and they help with most patients. But like with all supplements, you've got to make sure that they can take it, because they could interfere with other medicines they're on, or it could have interfered with other things. So make sure that the person's perfectly safe to have these things, even ginger. And I say with all supplements, I say this to every practitioner when I'm at conferences who all look at me saying, come on, Ray, what about this supplement? What about that supplement? I say, even supplements can have toxic side effects, a lot of them. And even the capsules they come in or the pills they come in can have the things that they're put in. So you have to be careful about every supplement. But there are certain supplements we found work more than they don't. So milk thistle and ginger seem to help the liver cope better as the patient's detoxing.
No, so it helps the liver.
Cope.
Cope with because you have to work harder. I usually tell patients that when I first see them, I said you need to make sure that you get off some medications or supplement that it doesn't work, or you don't know if they work. So that's number one thing, because you need your liver to help detox. So yes, and I believe ginger is also anti-inflammatory.
Ginger is also anti-inflammatory. Some people can't tolerate with that. You have to make sure, because some people have multiple chemical sensitivity, Marcel, and they can't cope with any supplement. So just be very careful. Don't say you got to take it because Dr. Perrin said you got to take.
Yeah.
Just see. And some patients take so many. In my book, I've got a picture of somebody with loads of loads of supplements. There's patients I've been to the houses where they've got the whole house full of supplements and everything. And you've got to, you've got to reduce. Only take the ones. And there's always a reason for it. There's books and books and books. And I've got a book on all naturopathic book on every herb and every supplement, and every single one's got a reason to take, and it's really good for health. But it might not be good. Some of them counterbalance each other, and sometimes they do the same thing. So you're overloading. You've got to be careful. So don't never overload with any supplement. Remember, less is more.
Right. So in general, I recommend people take less, because that is a good thing. And so the question was, these persons used to tolerate ginger, and now they don't. What are some other supplements you would recommend to take with milk thistle for the Perrin technique?
Well, I said
Fresh ginger or
any ginger in any form.
Yeah.
In any form, ginger tea, ginger, anything.
Ginger powder.
But I mean, I always say start with minimal dose of anything, and if you're happy with it and it helps you, then fine.
So so to answer your question, I tell people you do not need to buy any ginger pill. My patient, when they first started, I usually tell them do things naturally through their diet. Your body will tell you how much ginger you can take. And so if you swallow a pill, it won't work. And that patient who had that question actually bought a pill, I think 250 milligram or something. I can't remember the dose. And they have nausea. So I go, just go to whatever drugstore, get some ginger powder. You know, the ginger powder don't have a taste. So a lot of people don't like the spicy taste of ginger. Then get a teaspoon or whatever you like into your food, and you can do it 3 times a day, 5 times a day, whatever. Your stomach will tell you when you don't want it. And if you like the fresh ginger, you can grate it and then you can juice it. Some people like to eat that like a spicy thingy. That's good. How many pieces? I don't know, whatever your body wants you to eat, right? Yep, start slow. And some people like the ginger candy. I go, just be careful, don't eat too much candy, right? So, so the question becomes now that they don't tolerate the ginger, what would you recommend to? No,
We can't hear the questions well.
So that was later.
Yeah,
That was before. So so then what else of a supplement would you recommend, not knowing this person?
Well, for inflammation, pycnogenol pine bark extract has been used for centuries as well. And people think pine bark extract, that's a bit weird. Well, doctors forever, all the doctors I know, have always given willow bark extract out. And you say to a medical doctor, you've been given willow bark, and they say, what? That's aspirin. It's willow bark extract. So, you know, so pine bark's just a second cousin of it, and it has a good anti-inflammatory properties. But drinking plenty, and again, Ruby always mentions that certain people with heart and kidney problems can't overdrink, and you can drink too much. Some patients are drinking all the time. 2 liters is the usual advice given for an adult, but I mean, some people are drinking, and they can have 4 liters or 5 liters a day. So I'm talking liters, waters. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, water, no, but not pints. I'm not talking pints, I'm talking liters. And this is America. So anyway, we know what liters are. Anyway, so the thing is that people can actually dilute their body, and water can be toxic. So you've got to be careful. So just, but main thing is to hydrate, to make sure you got some hydration. A lot of people don't drink enough, and that's a big problem. And especially with people with POTS, they need to drink. And you know, Andrew Taylor Still, the founder of osteopathy, used to always say, look at the animals. He said, look at animals and find a lot of things going on with the animals. And when animals are poisoned, they go to the water hole and drink. So it's important to hydrate. Okay.
A second question. So you were talking about this backflow of the lymph. So as you're doing more and more Perrin technique, will this backflow issues eventually resolve? That is the other thing.
Yeah, well, that's why when people get completely better, the 10 out of 10s, which we always want everybody to be, but we know it's never going to happen with many people. We get them to our better state, but sometimes we can't reverse the unreversible. And some people's damage of the spine or damage of the brain has been so bad over the years that we can't get everything working 100%. But we don't need to keep, give them a reasonably good quality of life. 10 out of 10 patients are patients who are better, who have had no treatment for at least 6 months without any symptoms at all, able to do everything they could do before they were ill. So they're rare, but we get, we were on a study we did, we showed 15% of our patients get there, which is great. Most of the others get to an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, where 10 out of 10 is perfectly healthy. So those perfectly healthy ones, their lymph has reversed and everything's working properly. The hypothalamus is working 100% and it moves everything around and they stop the toxins building up. But there's some patients, even if you're trying to get there, we can't. And we discovered that only a few years ago, thanks to, again, Maiken Nedergaard, who discovered with her in her labs in Denmark, they discovered the SLIM. And the SLIM was probably great, one of the real, since the lymphatics was discovered, the SLIM was the next best thing, because what she discovered was there was a membrane lining the brain that nobody knew existed with the new scanning techniques. So the meninges, the membranes of the brain, have the dura, the arachnoid, the pia. There are 3 layers. And every doctor and every medical student and every osteopath in the world will say there's three meninges. But Maiken Nedergaard found the 4th one, a layer in the subarachnoid space that divides the healthy cerebrospinal fluid, which is inside, and the unhealthy cerebrospinal fluid that comes from the lymphatics. So it drains off the toxins into the outside of the slim, and then it eventually goes out of the brain. That's what should happen. But if you've had trauma to the brain, to the head over the years, or trauma down the spine, or even doesn't have to say, oh, I've had a whiplash injury, or I was playing football years ago and had a concussion injury. We had a patient just recently who said, no, I've never had any injuries. And then we saw a scar on his nose just above there, just where the cribriform plate is. And he said, oh, yes, when I was a kid, I used to play a lot of baseball, which he told us, and a baseball bat hit him right there. And he had concussion. We forgot all about that, but the scar told us the truth. So when you have that, you have a damage to the slim. And when that damages, then there's a problem, because it will stop the fluid all draining away, all the rubbish in the outside of the slim. Some of it will go back in again if it's permanently damaged. So we need to keep on draining and keep on draining. So some patients, we can get to a good state, but we need to continue maintenance. And I've had a patient who's been seeing me for 30 years now. I told her we'll grow old together, and we are. She's in her 80s now. She still comes. And she's had all sorts of things wrong with her during that years, but I've kept her going. And she still manages to walk in and walk out. And she's gone to a level around 7 out of 10 on the scale. So she's able to live a reasonable life, but she knows she needs treatment. So I keep her going every month, yeah.
September 2027, but how often would you say that you have to do a treatment?
So
the
question is that how often do patients need to do these type of treatments?
To keep.
Keep.
If you're healthy.
Okay.
If you're healthy versus if you're working towards
Yeah.
getting rid of the.
Right.
pus.
Okay. So
the question is, if they are healthy or relatively healthy, how often do they still need to do the treatment?
And part B, if you're.
I think you should come up here and ask yourself.
Okay.
Introduce yourself as well.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, man. Hi, my name is Miranda Joyce. I am a 21-year veteran in the Air Force, aeromedical evacuation. I am a functional medicine certified health coach. I live here in Minnesota. I hate being on camera.
And you couldn't get on my course this year?
No, I couldn't. But my BFF got to take your course, and I guess my question is, how often do we need to do the Perrin technique? And if you're healthy, part A, and then part B, if you're struggling, then how often?
Right. Okay. Well, if you're healthy, if you're totally healthy, you sometimes don't need to do it at all. If you're 10 out of 10, if we get to person 10 out of 10, we say bye-bye. And we say, every so often, if you want to, every week or every month, just keep it going. And some of them do, and some of them don't. And I've not seen some patients for 20, 30 years or 30 odd years. My first patient I got better, I never saw him again once I got him better. The cyclist I saw. And I said, I don't know how I've got you better, but I did. He came in 1989 to my practice. I was doing sports injuries, and he was a cyclist. And he got better with my treatment. But then I didn't know really, I wasn't treating him for me, I was treating him for his posture, for his spine, I used cranial techniques, and I did all what I do now, but now I've made it an actual technique where I've actually enhanced it and found out what works best. But with him, I was just lucky that I got there, just did everything that he needed for everything to start working again.
How many times was that?
That was for him. He was very lucky. I think he had 12 treatments in total.
And then, what's the scope?
And then that was over a few months.
Okay.
So, but that's a one-off patient to make me start thinking, whoa, what have I done? Because that's what he gave me all of the research, and that started me on my 37 year I didn't think it would. If I thought I would still be doing research on 37 years, I was thinking, would I actually done that? But anyway, but I was able to help him, but mostly now we see patients. We have a protocol of 12 weekly treatments to begin with, and we see how they are after that time. If they're improved in any way, we might still see them weekly. It's all a matter of costs as well, how much the patient can afford, and also how they are. So some very severe patients will need weekly treatment, maybe for a good few months, maybe the very severe for over a year. Some
So
about weekly over and maybe even longer. It depends how severe. So we treat the worst severe cases as well. I see patients on the scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is perfectly healthy, 0 is dead. I always tell the patient, well, you're not 0, and they usually smile, which means they're not depressed, they just want to get better. And they say, so a 1 out of 10 is a bedridden patient. And a 1 out of 10, I show pictures on my workshops of patients who are that severe, and we get them better. So some patients, even though it's very, very severe, we can get them completely better. But they start with weekly treatments. As soon as they're much, much better to what I would call a 5, 6 out of 10, we then space out to every 2 weeks, and then every 3 weeks, every month.
Are you using the pain scale, the 5, 6 of pain?
So no, we don't, because a lot of ME patients don't get pain; they just get fatigue more. We're looking at all that. We have a profile fatigue related states we use, which was developed in the 90s for ME and other fatigue related states. But we use that as looking at an overall, but we're listening to the patient, we're feeling the patient, we're seeing how they're doing. So it's not just a matter of, are you in less pain? There might be lots of other things affecting them. So we just generally want to know, are they actually feeling better? And then we feel them, does it feel better? And then in the symptoms showing that. And if so, we then space out the treatments. And then eventually, if they get to feeling good for a few months without any symptoms, we then say, okay, we'll give it 6 months. And if they have 6 months without symptoms and they overdo everything, we discharge them. But most don't get to that. Most get to a point where we see them once a month, once every 2 months, maybe once every 3 months. And they do the self-massage routine once a week. We have a self-massage routine we give. We have gentle exercise, and it's not graded exercise therapy we give them.
Rebounding.
We don't know. Rebounding is not the thing we do.
Okay.
So rebound, all the things you think of that stimulate the lymph to work better. That's if the lymph is working, but just sluggish. So all these techniques, rebounding and everything, will actually make most patients worse with ME. So it's getting the lymph working better first, in the right direction. That's the key.
Can you pump the lymph too much?
Yes, absolutely.
Can you tell me more about that?
So yeah, so if you're doing the right, if you did, I always teach in my classes, less is more, and all the people in my class are nodding now. Less is more, little by little. You can easily over it. So patients come in and they want to be better like that. So they say, well, what happens if I have a treatment every day? For the next few months, every day I do all the treatment. I come in every day, pay you and do the treatment. I say, if we can drain off all those toxins in one go, if we could, of course I would. I'd love to do that, but it almost certainly would kill every patient. The toxins have built up over the years.
Do you ever
do a
binder to make sure the toxins?
Oh, absolutely. We use if we think there's heavy metals, we use chelation. For Lyme disease, we use protocols. I go down an adapted Lee Cowden protocol. If you know Lee Cowden, there's lots of things we do to help with when patients have things, and that's in. More in it's all in my books.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Help balance hormones?
Well,
If the hypothalamus is.
that's the whole point.
Okay, we need to repeat the questions.
All right.
They can stay here if
So-
you have more
no,
questions.
so- Okay, well, thank you. Did that answer something? Did
Yeah.
that answer some of the
Wait a
questions?
second, there's a.
I think hopefully September 2027 will come quickly.
Yeah.
If you want to get it earlier, we have courses all over the world, but then you've got to travel
Yeah.
further.
So one question from the audience, and we'll answer your questions, I think, whoever raised their hand in shortly, is that does the hormone get fixed, right? By the Perrin technique? Like if you have abnormal hormone balance?
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, most doctors who are interested in my work all say you're selling yourself short by just saying you can help ME, CFS, can help fibromyalgia, you can help long COVID. This is the research I've done in. If we start looking at endocrinological problems, hormone problems, I'm sure we can help a lot of things because the hypothalamus controls the hormones. It's the mother of the hormonal system. The two of my great allies, one who used to be the head of ME services in Manchester, Anis Mukherjee, and she's now gone into the private world. And then, and also now my present colleague in research at Manchester, Dr. Adrian Hales, are both endocrinologists. And the reason why they got involved in my work is because they saw lots of patients in their neighborhoods who were coming to me getting better, who had gone to their clinic and they couldn't help them, and I was helping them. So they got really interested in what I was doing. And because they're endocrinologists, as soon as I mentioned the word hypothalamus, they were interested. So, yeah, so can we help hormonal problems? Probably, if we balance the hypothalamus, can we help things? A lot of ME patients have autoimmune Hashimoto's. I'm told they've got thyroid problems, they've got adrenal problems. There's a lot of and also all the sex hormones are affected big time as well. And this is again it affects women more than men because of hormones. That's one of the main reasons why female at birth have ME much more than their male counterparts because of the hormonal challenges every month and all different times of their lives, menopausal, perimenopausal, that affects ME, and also affects fibromyalgia much more female at birth, and also long COVID, which I predicted when COVID was first announced. So that's because of the hormonal links. So if we get the hypothalamus working better, of course it's going to help the hormones. We just haven't done the research to actually look at that. However, one of the things we are doing in the research we're intending to do in the near future is through Manchester University's labs, we've got cortisol and cortisone tests we can do through the saliva. So we're going to be testing for that, and that will be an indication of if the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis is working better. And with the tech, yeah. We've got a multi-center as Ruby quite said, we've got a 5-center multi-center study in the planning stages now.
All right. Jenna has a question.
So can you go back to the slim for just a minute?
Yeah.
So if it's dividing the
good and bad.
Yeah.
Does it act as a filter?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
It is actually a filter.
Okay, so the question is, if there is this line in the space inside your brain that separate the good and bad fluid, does it act as a filter?
So it acts as a filter. It's called the subarachnoid lymphatic-like membrane because it's like the lymph. It separates the small molecules can get back into the brain, which can be drained away by the blood. The larger molecules shouldn't get through. It's got immune cells on. So it's not just trauma. Any infections could affect the slim. And if you have multiple infections, it could really affect the slim. So there's lots of, I said this is only in the last couple of years we've known it existed. But one thing we definitely know, that this filter, if it's broken, can cause major mayhem. And if any doctors are watching this who think, oh my gosh, that's why the patient went much worse after the lumbar puncture. Or when patients have epidurals, they think they put a needle in, and sometimes, oh, there's a leak. Don't worry about it. It's only a bit of cerebrospinal fluid. It will be fine. When they've gone a bit too deep, no problems. But they're pushing this huge needle. I mean, it's huge compared to the slim, which is only 1 cell thick, into the slim, and it could cause permanent damage to the slim. And so this is why a lot of people can get worse when they have epidurals and lumbar punctures, spinal taps.
So this actually can filter out the bigger molecule. I mean,
it's there to filter out the big molecules to allow to stop them going back into the brain. Yeah, yeah. Right. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Any questions from there? Because
okay, we need to give a little time to our virtual audience, and we have 2 people asking. They submit their questions before the Q&A, so we want to respect that. So this first person, I don't know if they allowed me to say name, so there's no name, but they wrote me an email. I would like to know what are the most important home exercise following completion of a course with a Perrin practitioner. I will continue to see him on a monthly basis or as he suggested. Oh, don't go on yet. I have made excellent progress, now able to be busier, and if I continue to improve, it will be more of a challenge to fit it in or to remember to do all the exercise I currently manage. Many thanks to Dr. Perrin. You have given me my life back.
Well, thank you very much for that question, and thanks for the comments at the end. I hear this all over, and yeah. Anyway, we'll just carry on. So the one exercise I tell patients is for life when they first come in, and I say that in my book as well, is the dorsal rotation exercises to keep the spine moving. So that all these exercises are available without subscription, free of charge on the Perrin Technique website. No cost involved. You go on there, you've got a film that we paid a lot of money for. This film company came along from London and did it with a clapperboard and everything. And they showed exactly as I instruct, because I was there watching them do it all. I was directing it all with the director to make sure everything goes exactly right. So it's the rotation turning exercise, and you stand up afterwards, and then you do, oh, it's following through. You do. Yeah, sometimes the AI is good. Okay. Sit down. Oh, yes.
Good.
Okay, so that's the exercise I tell people to follow even when they're better for life. The effleurage, if you're feeling 100%, then you can do it in the shower. Maybe best to do it at night time because it's before you go to bed, and we now know the drainage works best in a health during delta wave sleep, deep sleep, which is in the first part of sleep at night. So that's why we want to mimic nature. So if you do it in the shower at night, have once a week you do it, continue doing it. Some patients, I don't see them for months. They come in and they've been doing it every day still. They just carry on. But I don't expect you to do that. But I'll say once a week, once you're feeling much better, once a week, just to keep it going. No, the self-massage.
Yeah.
Self-massage.
It's on the website, the perrintechnique.com. I know there are some very handsome men out there making videos of the treatment and self-massage. So they are not official. So the perrintechnique.com, under there is a tab called Self-Help Guide. Click on it and it will show all the videos that are the authorized, the standard Perrin self-treatment.
Yeah.
Okay, another question, and that's the second question, and that's it. And after that, you guys, the virtual audience can ask questions, and you guys can put up your hand. So this person asked, I would like to know if there are any information on the effectiveness of the Perrin technique in people with multiple conditions, not just ME, such as autoimmune, Hashimoto, POTS, depression, anxiety, because this person felt like the other conditions are blocking the treatment from being effective.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, there's lots of things you need to add to it. It's part of the jigsaw puzzle. The Perrin technique is not the cure-all. I've never said it's the cure-all. My critics will claim, oh, it's useless, it doesn't work, because they're looking at the whole picture. I'm not the cure-all. I've never have said this, and I never will. It's part of what I call the jigsaw puzzle. And the jigsaw puzzle analogy, for those who don't know about it, it's in my books, but I will repeat them again. And for those who've been in my class, should know it verbatim. So the idea of the jigsaw puzzle was to develop a concept of what patients need to do, make a framework that they need to do to get as well as possible. So it's like building a jigsaw puzzle. The first things you do with the jigsaw puzzle, and I used to make lots of jigsaw puzzles when I was younger, is the corners first, then, oh, so I shouldn't do that, it gives instructions to the corners first without moving my hands, then the edge pieces, and then the sea and the sky in the middle. That's the jigsaw puzzle. And so what are the corners with these conditions? The first is rest. You've got to have a period, and this has come from patient after patient, when they said, we have a period of time when we just rest and do nothing. It really helps us get through the day. So you have a period of rest, but not resting because Dr. Perrin says resting. So not sitting there for a second and jumping up. I've rested, right, I've done it now. Resting and relaxing. So that's the second corner. You've got to rest and relax. You've got to feel, that's good. This is good. But then you might think, this is good. I'm telling myself this is good because Dr. Perrin said I have to relax. I'm relaxing. Yes, I'm resting and I've relaxed. Good. Right, I'm going. And they haven't really relaxed. So if they find that difficult to do, then they should learn. And even the ones who do find it easy to do, it's still a very good idea to meditate whilst you're resting and relaxing. So learn meditation. And there's lots of avenues out there, lots of techniques for mindfulness, for just concentrating on the good, on the nice, anything good at all. Even just looking out the window and watching the birds, looking at the sun's coming out, it's not thick snow. Or if the thick snow comes, it's beautiful. There's a snow and there's a robin on the tree and it looks lovely. So always try and focus on the good, and that will help focus on the present. That will help a lot. And it doesn't have to be a meditation based on any religious principles. So if you have people who don't like the term meditation because they think it's religious, use mindfulness. Okay? So so rest, relaxation, mindfulness, or meditation. But the most important corner, and all my students know and all my practitioners know, is pacing. Pacing is the key. It's what I've been jumping up and down in the years in the 1990s when I went to conferences where people were saying we need graded exercise therapy, GET, the dreaded GET. And I was saying, no, you need to pace, you need to relax. And at one time I said, you need to pace. And the doctor came over and says, do you mean pacing up and down the room? I said, no, not that pacing, just pace. Half of what you feel capable of doing. And I'm proud to say that around the world now, most health authorities advocate this half rule, the 50% rule, that you don't ever get to the part where you feel you've done too much, ever. So you think, when I'm doing something, can I do double? And the answer always should be unequivocally yes. So that's the pacing part of you. Those are the four corners, the 50%. And that's not just in physical, that's in mental, in anything you do. And then the edge pieces is the Perrin technique itself to get the neurolymphatic system working. Once you've got that working better, then all the other supplements that you might have tried before, you might find that if you try them again, they'll work much better. And that's what I've seen again and again. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't have supplements and you shouldn't have dietary plans and you shouldn't have talk therapies and even drugs sometimes. But what we've seen when the whole systems just calm down a bit, things work much better when you add. And there's lots some patients are 100-piece jigsaw puzzles. Some are very simple. Like my first patient was probably about 25-piece jigsaw puzzle. I was just lucky. But some patients are 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles. I've got one patient that says she's the baked bean jigsaw puzzle. That's a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle with baked beans on both sides. That's, very complex case. So to get the best results there, to get most of that jigsaw puzzle, may not get all filled, but the most of it, if you start with the corners first, edge pieces, and build up the jigsaw puzzle, then you'll help. But if you try and start the other way around, it's going to be much, much harder, even for the simple jigsaw puzzles. Okay?
I wanted to clarify the double concept for those of you on the video who don't understand. The way I say it to my patients is actually opposite to what he said. I said, think about if you want to go take a shower and for 5 minutes, can you take it for 10 minutes instead of 5 minutes? And if your answer is no, that is too much, that means if you are going to do your 5-minute shower, you already are using up a lot of energy that you may not have enough reserve left for cooking, walking to the bathroom, eating, brushing your teeth. You might be adding too close to the edge, and that any unexplained emotional stress will take out the rest of it. So you want to leave enough reserve for anything you need to do essentially and unexpectedly. So I usually ask them, can you do what you want to do double? And if you cannot, that means your task is already adding too much to taking out all your reserve. I think you can see that.
Yeah,
that
well,
way.
I do say that in my book. I do say double.
Yeah, but the way you said it was a little complicated.
All right, so to put both together, if you think double for everything you do, and the answer is unequivocally no, you can't do it, you're doing too much. If it's maybe I can do double, it's still too much. It's got to be absolutely yes, I can definitely do double. And if you say, well, I don't know what double is, or say that's another question, but then you just say, well, can you walk can you walk a mile? Yes. Could you walk 2 miles? Oh, I don't think I could. Then you shouldn't even be doing a mile. Do half a mile. You can walk a mile, then do half a mile. And I say to people, so what happens if I've got a dog to walk and the dog needs a mile walk, and then do half a mile in the morning and then maybe half a mile in the evening. So space it out.
Yes,
Okay.
there's a question in the audience.
My question is, in all of this, do you take into consideration nutrition and what they're eating or this?
Yeah. So the question is, talking about all these, do we take into account of nutrition and other things?
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the jigsaw puzzle. That's the sea in the sky. And people always ask me, so what diet do you recommend? And I say the diet for the patient with ME or CFS, long COVID, fibromyalgia, the best diet for that patient is the best diet for that patient. There's no one diet. There are dietary people in the audience have been to my class. Shall I ask them? No, I won't quiz you, don't worry. But the 3 no-nos, well, the 3 reductions, the things you should avoid, but not fully, are gluten, casein in milk, not the lactose, the casein, and sugar, which stimulates the production of yeast. Because yeast, gluten, and casein are 3 large molecules that they're inflammatory, but they're large molecules that need the lymph in the gut. They need the lacteals. The child has to drain those large molecules away. And if it's going the wrong way, what happens to all those large molecules? They stay there, creating more and more inflammation, creating gut dysbiosis, creating leaky gut, creating bloating, creating fermentation, and then they create more and more havoc, and they damage the gut biome, and then the gut and the brain is connected big time. We know that, and then everything goes haywire. So we tell people to reduce, but with advice from a very, very top immunologist, David Fried, who was alive when I was doing my research work, and I consulted him a lot. He said, don't tell people to unless they're allergic never tell people to stop gluten, casein, reduce. Every so often cheat. Because if you stop completely, your enzymes stop being produced to break those down. And then you might not be celiacs, but if you're gluten sensitive and you stop completely, you will develop celiacs. So, and then what you find is if you stop all these foodstuffs for a long time, you'll become sensitive to other foodstuffs and other foodstuffs, and eventually goes down the slippery slope where you can't tolerate anything. I had one patient, all she could tolerate was rice and turkey. That's all she could eat, rice and turkey, nothing else for years. And we treated her, and bit by bit, she got her much, much better, and she was able to. Gluten, casein, and sugar in use. But there's one no-no. The one absolute no-no for all patients, which is hard for some people, is alcohol.
Yeah.
So alcohol is bad, not just because of the liver, and then we all know liver, but it's also because of the brain. Alcohol affects the NMDA receptors in the brain and the GABA receptors in the brain that are the main targets of what we see are really affected with ME and fibromyalgia and these conditions. So we do not want to overload those or damage those receptors in any way. So alcohol's a no-no.
Before we get to Irene's question, so there was a comment about Mediterranean diet. I need to say something about that because people with mast cell activation, your Mediterranean diet will kill them because avocado nuts are high in histamine. So it happened to me. I was told that I have pre-diabetes, so then I go on to eat a Mediterranean diet, and next thing I know, after 2 weeks, I have hives all over, and that. So be careful when you hear some diet is good, it may not be good for you. So you need to make sure it's really going to be good for you.
What from a diet point of view, there's a ketogenic diet that helps some people and some people make it much worse. Leslie Keith's online there. So she's one of the leading experts in lymphedema and lipedema. And in lipedema, in primary lymphedema and lipedema, it's been shown that a keto diet does help. So certain patients, we know it does help. And certain patients, we know we've definitely seen it doesn't. And there's not one diet that works for all. So whatever people say, and I've always got patients coming in. But one of the things I do say, if you, from a nutritional point of view, if you can get as many varied foods that you can take and you can tolerate, make it as varied as possible. So the nutritionists call it the rainbow diet. The rainbow diet is really good. But remember that some of the rainbow diet might be bad for the patient. Like again, the rainbow diet, all different fruits and vegetables, all different colors will have different nutrients and different vitamins in. Sorry, vitamins. And that like tomato, that is really good, but it's terrible for histamine. It's very high histamine. So again, like with avocado. So, but if you can tolerate foods, have as many varied as variety is the spice of life. And that is definitely what I would recommend. Lots of different types of food, as long as you can tolerate them. Yeah.
Okay. So one last question from our real life audience. And thank you for those who have come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, no, that's okay. We understand. So one last question from Irene.
Well, I was interested in that, Dr. Perrin, when you said sugar and casein and what was that?
Gluten, yeah.
Is bad for the stomach because they're big molecules.
Bad for the bowels, yeah. Bowels.
Is that stomach? Those molecules is that linked to the lymphatic system?
Yeah. So like the lymphatic.
So the question is, how does gluten, casein, and the sugar link to the lymphatic system from the gut?
Right, so the gut, it's the gut, not the stomach, and it's small intestine have things called lacteals in, which are the lymphatics of the gut, and they should drain off what we call chyle, which is creamy white fluid or chyle. Okay, it's spelt CHYLE, but it's chyle, and this fluid contains fat. Okay, but also contains a lot of other substances that go from the gut. And the lymph drains those off eventually into liver, into the bloodstream, and everything's fine if it works properly. But the thing is, if it's backflowing, it won't drain away. It'll drain back into the gut.
Because the molecules are too big?
No, the molecules are there they're too big to go in the blood, so they go into the lymph. So they should drain, smaller molecules will drain through into the blood of the gut and drain away. But the bigger molecules need the, and fat as well, needs the lymph.
The lymphatic system.
That's the lymphatic system. So if it's going the wrong way, you get a buildup of these molecules, but also you get the fat molecules should drain away and be metabolized. But if they're draining the wrong way, they can cause fatty deposits everywhere, which is what we see with lipedema. And this is what's happening to backflow. The backflow will explain so many conditions, but people have ignored Kinmont's work because he could never prove the backflow in his lifetime. I did with my photo showing the varicose megalymphatics in the lymph. And so that proved that there was a thing called varicose megalymphatics.
That turn into molecules are too big.
Okay. Yeah. No, the sugar stimulates the production of yeast, and it's the yeast that's too big, the candida. Lipedema too is explained, and Neslin Keith's online, and she could explain you all about that as well. But we know we can help the lipedema patients as well.
Okay.
They need other things as well, but we are. Sorry, Leslin, are you on?
Yeah.
There's a comment online here.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get to it. So once Dr. Perrin
Right, shall we do that? Right, we'll do that online because they're being very patient there. And right.
Okay, all right. So Tessie has a question. Do you want to unmute and ask your question yourself? Tessie, go ahead.
Sure, I can do that. Hi, Dr. Perrin. Hi, Dr. Tam.
Hi. Where are you calling from?
I'm actually from the Twin Cities area.
Oh, right. Okay.
I couldn't find parking, so I just came home. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. What thoughts do you have around the Perrin technique and long COVID for those who have developed like vascular insufficiency, vascular disease, pelvic compression system syndrome? Like, what correlations between vascular issues, lymph flow, and any suggestion modifications to the Perrin treatment?
Okay. Right. So the vascular system obviously needs to be addressed. And if there's actually clear vascular problems, you need to see a doctor about that. But we can help. I'm sure our treatment help that as well, because it's all to do with, again, autonomic control. The hypothalamus controls the autonomics, and the autonomics control the blood flow, including it has the smooth muscles are not just in the arteries and arterioles, they're also in the veins. But there's less smooth muscles in veins than arteries. So and these are controlled by sympathetic nerves. So the sympathetic nervous system has a major control over vascular venous drainage, as well as and also the heart, the pumping of the heart. So you can't separate the two. So if someone's got vascular problems that are being treated, can we help that? I'm absolutely sure we can, but there's not been enough evidence to look at that yet. We're still looking at all the lymphatic side of things, but we've had patients with loads of different conditions that have said, my condition's improving, something completely different. And then you're thinking how it's helping, and it's helping because the autonomic nervous system's working better. So this can help in general health for everybody, really. But we haven't got the means and the funding to do research into every single condition. But if you want to, by all means, I'll help you along.
All right, virtual audience. Thank you, Tessie. I'm so sorry. I didn't know that the underground parking was closed. So I'm so sorry that
No, I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there, because I was excited to meet you both in person.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question okay?
Yes, thank you.
Any other virtual person or virtual audience have any questions for Dr. Perrin? No. You guys actually understand everything he said. That's fantastic, phenomenal. Okay, all right.
Leslie, you must have something.
Yes,
I can't.
Leslie.
Well, Leslie, introduce yourself because
Hello.
you know I talk about you a lot. So you
thank you.
introduce yourself.
Thank you for mentioning that. I'm Leslie Keith. I'm a certified lymphedema therapist and was lucky enough to take Dr. Perrin's course in Boston several years ago. But my primary work has been in lymphedema and lipedema and diet related to that, and done quite a bit of work about diet and lymphatics. So I put my email in the chat, Leslin at lipedemaproject.org. And if anybody would like to contact me, be happy to communicate with you.
Mhm. Thank you.
Okay, so basically, Leslie is in charge of is working with we had a very low volume in the computer. So for the audience here, I'm just introducing. She's in California. She works with the Lipedema Project, lymphedema, and lipedema work, which there's an international group of experts helping and with people who are sufferers. She's written a book. She's got a PhD in the field, and she's an expert in lymphedema and lipedema. And she's also a Perrin Technique practitioner.
So her name is Leslyn, Leslyn, Keith, Keith, and her email is Leslyn, Leslyn, her first name at lipedema, LIPEDEMA project.org.
Okay, you got that? Anyway, it's on the chat line, which and we've got this video, so it should be on there.
Yeah.
But if you want to know more about the diet
Lipedema,
and lipedema and lymphedema, but in my lectures, in my workshop, I go into explain the differences and how we can help using the Perrin technique as well. But it's as well. It's always as well. I don't. Yeah, I know, and therefore it's we respect that our patients are complex conditions. Very few people just need the Perrin technique. Some are simple. I said simpler cases. That's all they need, and some have done so much else, and they say we've done this. We feel getting there, but not well enough. And then when they have the Perrin technique, that's the final piece of jigsaw puzzle, and it helps them. So they've done the opposite way. They've built the jigsaw puzzle with difficulty from inside out, but we come along and finish the jigsaw.
All right. So it's 4 p.m. I want to respect everybody's time. We are going to stop the recording. Any live audience here, if you want to hang out and talk, we have the room up till 5 p.m., but I hope to kick you guys out sooner. So
Well,
anyway, thank you all for joining from.
Thank you for organizing this,
Thank you, Steve.
and also Stephanie for organizing this.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Lesson, Julie, Laurel, everybody. Okay,
And
bye.
thank you for doing this, Dr. Ruby Tam, because I came up with the idea and I was like, I would like just anybody to come and meet.
Yes, it was Stephanie's idea.
Yes. And this was my one full day off without traveling, without doing anything. This is my one day off, but no, I don't mind.
All right, bye guys.
You don't want to stand in line at the airport anyway.
I know. All right.
Traveling all the way.
We'll edit the video and put it on Stephanie's YouTube page and my clinic YouTube page when it is available. I do not know when, but we'll let you know when it is available. Okay. All right. Thank you for your time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.